Hi, I'm Patrick Giguere with Cosmic Alchemist Astrology, and thanks very much for tuning in today. So today I'm going to talk about the summer solstice. Before I do that, I'm going to put my little plug in real quick. So thank you to everybody who subscribes to this channel, who watches these videos, who likes the videos, comments on the videos, and shares them. It's all very helpful and it's very encouraging to me. And if you're not yet a subscriber, I respectfully ask that you consider subscribing. You'll better be able to stay abreast of the channel because you'll get an update every time I upload a video. So thank you very much, or thanks in advance as the case may be. And let's get into this topic. So summer solstice. So I'm speaking from the point of view of the Northern Hemisphere. I live in the United States, so I'm in the Northern Hemisphere. So for me and for everybody in this hemisphere, June 21st is the longest day of the year. It's the summer solstice. I'd say within the last 100 years, people call this day the first day of summer. I disagree with that. I call it Midsummer's Day. For centuries and for millennia, people called it Midsummer's Day. The reason that it's been called Midsummer's Day is because the summer solstice has the peak daylight time. So there's no longer day in the entire year in the Northern Hemisphere. So it's basically when light fully triumphs over darkness in the natural world, when we're talking about visible light. So to me, a summer doesn't begin on the longest day, because after that longest day, the days start getting shorter, the nights get longer. So really, the day after the solstice starts the sun's decline. So to me, the summer doesn't start on that day. So, in my opinion, and in the opinion of the ancients, and in the not so ancient people, just more than 100 years ago, the summer really starts around May 7th, May 8th, somewhere around that time. You can even say May 1st because of the Beltane festival. So, yeah, people debate this. I don't know how the summer solstice became the first day, but I consider it to be midsummer. So really the seasons start at the midway points between a solstice and an equinox. So let's take the spring equinox. Spring equinox is when, from our point of view in the Northern Hemisphere, the sun is passing over the equator. And incidentally, this is where the holiday Passover comes from, when the sun passes over the equator with the approach of spring. So at spring equinox, the sun is setting and rising right on the cardinal direction. So it's rising directly at due east, it's setting directly at due west. Now after spring equinox, the sun keeps rising and setting 1 degree farther north every single day. So the day gains about roughly a minute of daylight every day after that. So, that's spring equinox, equal day and equal night, around March 21st. Then you have, on the next day, 322, which incidentally is why Skull and Bones uses number 322, because it's when the light finally triumphs over dark, at least in the natural world with visible light. I'm not talking morality, especially with a group like that. But anyway, so on 322, the light wins. And the day gains about a minute of daylight, every day until June 21st. So, and again, about May 1st to May 7th, right in that first week of May, that is right between the spring equinox, equal day and equal night, and then the summer solstice, which is longest day, shortest night. So to me, that midway point is the first day of summer. So summer solstice, again, midsummer's day. So yeah, this for thousands of years, since the beginning of humanity, whenever the hell that was. It's been an extremely important day for us. So this is, like I said, it's the triumph in the natural world of light over dark, longest day, shortest night. So it's always been a celebration and a festival of growth, of life, of fertility, of rebirth, of regeneration, because the sun helps everything to grow. Without the sun, the earth is basically a bunch of inert material, and nothing can grow on it. So everything loves the sun. Everything living loves the sun. Even if they're pale like me and they can't take a lot of direct sunlight, they still love the sun. Everything living loves the sun. So, yeah, this is a very important celebration for many cultures for many thousands of years. So, it's also about halfway to harvest. So this is when crops, when you're talking your plants, crops you've just planted, really start to, they're not ripe, but they're getting more robust. You can see the growth and you can get an idea of what your harvest is going to be. So this was a time when peoples all over the world would honor nature, honor the forces and the powers within nature that they personified as gods and goddesses. And they asked for protection of their health, of their communities, of their crops, of their livestock. So it was a very important day to give thanks and to ask for blessings. And in all cultures, the solar deities, the solar gods, the solar goddesses are for the most part protectors of the earth and of humanity, and they're basically the benefactors. They are life givers. So it was a day also to honor the sun and its power, because it was at, again, maximum power. So, and there's a whole thing too with the heavenly bull. So there's great imagery of this, like from civilizations like Assyria, Babylon. I don't think so much Sumer, but you hear about the heavenly bull of Nineveh. So this is the bull of Taurus, and it has wings on it. So it's basically about sort of the power of the material world being harnessed by the spirit in order to basically do its work for it. And that's what we strive to in spiritual work. That's part of our alchemy, as cosmic alchemists, because again, a cosmos is just a system. So your mind and your body are systems. And alchemy is all about transmutation. It's all about taking something that's maybe negative, maybe neutral, maybe kind of inert, not very useful, and turning it into a treasure. So, yeah, this winged bull was about basically learning how to manifest in the physical world, using our divine nature to manifest in the physical world, and sort of stewarding the natural world. And I guess you could say, living in harmony with it, but then enjoying the fruits of it too. So yeah, and then the other thing too, that's the whole thing with Taurus. I could do a whole video about it, but Taurus also deals with the lower brain, the cerebellum, which is where all your instincts reside. And so the higher brain, the spiritual brain, kind of gets antagonized by the lower brain. So it's about bringing that into the service of the higher brain, of the spiritual self. So yeah, this winged bull. So the sun is in the sign of Taurus from May 15th until June 15th in the sidereal system. So I'm talking sidereal, visible sky, Vedic astrology. I'm not talking mainstream Western tropical. So in this zodiac, the sun is in Taurus, May 15th to June 15th. So even in just, a few days, within a week of this summer solstice, the sun is in Taurus. So this work is getting done to help the earth bear optimal fruit for all of us to sustain ourselves with. So yeah, this was a very important celebration for societies that were agricultural. It's important to remember that as modern Westerners, as modern Americans, up until maybe around 1920, 1910, 1920, 90% of the populations in the industrialized, developed Western countries still grew their own food. It's a very recent phenomenon where we all just do our little jobs and we have no real connection with the earth and with our food. That was only in a post-World War II world with the advent of the supermarket and cheap food, and all that fun stuff. So people used to live very close to their food and they were very intimately connected with it. So in those days, these celebrations were even more important. So that's basically the long and short of the summer solstice. It's a joyous celebration, and it's a time when we ask for blessings from the natural world. So I want to next go into a little history of this. So I want to talk about Litha. So Litha is the Irish celebration of the summer solstice. So this was a celebration where the god Lu was honored. So Lu was the god of light, the god of the sun, the heat of the sun. He was also a patron of arts and music and even sciences and intelligence as well, mental intelligence. So this was a feast honoring Lu. I would say, Lu's a lot like Apollo. He also has some attributes, kind of like the god Thor, even though Thor is not a sun god, he's a thunder god. I would say there's a little similarity there, but I would think more Apollo with Lu. And Lu is also a god of healing too. So another similarity with Apollo. So yeah, from really time immemorial, thousands of years, I would say even before the Gaelic people invaded Ireland 2,500 years ago, going back at least 4,000 years to the time of the Tuatha Danu, aka Tuatha De Danann. I'd say this celebration goes back that far. And so Litha is a festival of the powers of the sun, so the life-giving power, the healing power, and the regenerative power. And these things are very important when you live in an agricultural society. So, and even to this day, in Ireland, in Scotland, and as far as Gaelic cultures go, but then even in England, Wales, Brittany, and northwestern France, summer solstice is celebrated at the stone circles in those countries. And some really popular sites for this. In Ireland, you've got Newgrange, which is the English name for Brúnaboyne in County Meath. Also in County Meath, in the east of Ireland, you have the Hill of Tara. And then you have Carrowkeel in County Sligo. It's another megalithic site. Then in England, big summer solstice celebration at Stonehenge. And I think at Carnac too in Brittany is another one. Not sure about Scotland and Wales, but all of these countries have stone circles and megaliths and things like that. So yeah, where was I? Yeah, so people in this Litha celebration, they would celebrate to honor the sun, and then the god Lu, a personification of the sun. And they believed that this celebration would encourage good crops, healthy livestock, prosperity, abundance, and even health for them and their families and their friends and, in their community. And this goes back to the idea, which I fully believe, that our human consciousness affects the natural world. So when you honor the natural world, when you give your thanks, when you show your gratitude, when you expect it to be healthy, when you understand that it can be healthy and not, just kind of a wasteland covered in concrete, then it responds and it says, oh, thank you, thanks for loving me, thanks for appreciating me, here you go. So here's some nice weather. So yeah, people in ancient times knew that the natural world responds to human consciousness because we're supposed to be the stewards and the keepers of it all. So yeah, big part of this Litha celebration and just these summer solstice celebrations in the whole Celtic world, big part of it, big facet of it, are the large bonfires. So traditionally, on the day of the solstice, the bonfires are lit at the stroke of noon when the sun reaches its maximum height, and then the celebration goes until sunrise the next day. So it's about 18 hours worth of festivity. It's dancing, music, food, drinking, socializing, the whole bit. Traditionally too, it was also a popular time for weddings. And you may have seen it in movies, documentaries, television shows, even in books, where couples, newly married couples, would jump across flames. And this was about basically purifying the couple so that they could have a happy and a healthy marriage. Because fire is basically an agent of purification. So, and then another thing too that's done at the Litha celebration, they make wheels out of wood and they set them on fire and they roll them down a hill. So this is also an acknowledgement that after this day of maximum daylight, of the longest day of the year, the sun will then decline. So that burning wheel rolling down the hill, it's the wheel of the sun, it's the wheel of the zodiac, and it's demonstrating that the days will now get shorter. So you can't stay on top forever, you have to come down eventually. And again, in the old times, people just recognized that things were cyclical. And you took the good with the bad with the good, and the party didn't last forever. There was work to be done, you had to clean up after that party, and sometimes you had to do things that weren't very fun, but the good times always come back. That was before, the modern age of just convenience and having anything you want at your fingertips at any time, which I think is going to get an adjustment very soon. But, we'll see. I don't think this world will look the same at the end of the decade, but it's not going to be hell on earth, horrible, terrible. It's just going to be different. So, let me find my place here. Oh yeah, and another interesting thing too. So, I really enjoy and appreciate the Irish traditions. I have a lot of that in my family. I also, in my family, have family members and ancestors from French Canada. So even though French Canada is outside of what we think of as the Celtic world, for some hundreds of years now, they have La Fête de Saint Jean-Baptiste. So that's the feast of St. John the Baptist. This takes place on the 24th of June, which incidentally is on the same day that the festival in Ireland, the Spancil Hill Festival, starts every year, 24th of June. So the 24th is really, that's the day when the sun visibly starts going south towards the equator again. So June 21st is the longest day, just like December 21st is the shortest day from our perspective in the Northern Hemisphere. But the sun will actually stay in the same physical position for 3 days. Summer solstice being the first one, so we're talking like 21st, 22nd, 23rd. This happens in the winter too, where the sun will stay at that lowest position in the south. So the 22nd, 23rd, 24th of December, and then it comes back north on the 25th. So with these maximum and minimum, or these high and low points of the sun, you get the sun hanging out at that higher low position for a few days, and then it changes direction. So same thing in the summer. So the 24th of June, that's when the sun starts to fall again. Again, as we look from the Northern Hemisphere. If you're in the Southern Hemisphere, it's all opposite. But yeah, so in French Canada, La Fête de Saint-Jean-Baptiste, the Festival of St. John the Baptist, this involves bonfires along the St. Lawrence River Valley. So St. Lawrence River is the major river in French Canada. It flows basically west to east, kind of southwest, and kind of in a northeasterly direction. So it runs from, Lake Ontario to the Atlantic Ocean. So along that river valley, in all the towns and villages, large bonfires would be lit. So to my understanding, so sunset, June the 24th, the bonfires are lit. So from the air, this is something you could see along the river valley, if everybody participates. So yeah, it just illustrates the point that so many cultures honor the sun and the power, the spiritual power behind the sun. And then too, like I'm always talking about, the sun is symbolic of the soul. So this is a day of our soul's desires, of manifesting our soul's desires, of asking the spiritual world to help us to accomplish those. So last thing I want to do in this video before I let you all go, I want to talk about June 21st of this year, 2022. So to me, this is a pretty auspicious day. And really the thing, I'd probably say two things. No, three. First thing about this is that in Pisces, the home of Jupiter, Jupiter and Moon made a conjunction at 12 degrees. So Moon and Jupiter, along with Venus, are the three most benevolent planets. And so Jupiter is the spiritual teacher, the guru of the heavens, whereas Venus is the earthly teacher. So Jupiter is the spiritual teacher of the heavens, and really, even physically, a protector for the Earth. The planet Jupiter actually sucks in asteroids and comets that could threaten the Earth. And then the Moon is called the giver of life in Vedic astrology. It causes the tides in the Earth's oceans. It even governs women's menstrual cycles. So it's very important to the whole, I don't want to say machinery of the natural world, but to the kind of the cycles and the synergy of the natural world. So to put those two together in Jupiter's home, that's very powerful. And again, Pisces, that is a sign of spirituality, of divinity, of the deep unconscious, of the deep emotions. So to me, this year, the world being what it is, just the chaos and the craziness and the brainwashing, it's helping us to have a little bit of ease in the middle of all this. Especially when you consider that also in Pisces, Mars on the 21st was at 26 degrees of Pisces. Mars hates being in Pisces. Absolutely hates it, because Mars is a planet of action, of fighting, of building. Mars doesn't want to just sit around and reflect. Pisces is all about reflection, all about going inward. And it's really about just getting away from your daily life, your usual responsibilities, and turning inward and getting to rest and really discovering yourself more. So Mars hates to do this. Mars just wants to suck it up and keep pushing. So Mars in Pisces, this either creates a spiritual warrior or it creates somebody who is kind of desperate and impatient and just really on edge. And so as I make this on the 23rd, Mars is about 27, 28 degrees of Pisces. So it's about to go Gandanta. So Gandanta is that cusp between water and fire signs. So that cusp between the water and the fire signs, basically the water boils and creates steam. So it's 28, 29 degrees of the water sign and then the first and second degree of the fire. That's at Gandanta. So it's creating this steam, it's creating combustion and explosiveness. And it basically creates like a feeling like things are desperate and out of control, even like a feeling of drowning. And Aries is Mars' home sign, so it's basically Mars is coming home with a bang, being Gandanta like this. So yeah, Moon and Jupiter, I think, are really taking the edge off that. Another thing too, you've got Venus in Taurus at 4 degrees. So Venus is at home in Taurus. Venus is the spiritual teacher on earth. Venus is a terrestrial goddess. So the terrestrial gods and goddesses are very sympathetic to the human condition because they live here with us in time and space and they see the passage of time. What the passage of time gives us is wisdom. So the terrestrial gods and goddesses are like grandparents. Whereas the celestials are basically like children with huge power and awareness. They live outside of time and space, so they have no wisdom, even though they're very powerful and very aware. So Venus is also a warrior planet, but she's a protector rather than a conqueror like Mars. So to me, this means that Venus is protecting us, really, helping to keep the peace that does exist, even though there are aggressions and conflicts flaring around the world. And Taurus also deals with our food, so this can be like a protection of our food supply, which people have been worrying about lately for good reason. And then we've got Mercury in there with Venus, so that's our intellect. So we're thinking about this material world and basically how to keep it running smoothly. And then the other thing too that I wanted to talk about, on this day we have Saturn at 0 degrees of Aquarius in retrograde, ready to go back to Capricorn. So Capricorn and Aquarius are home signs of Saturn. Aquarius is the sign of we the people, of just the every man, the every woman, and it's all about equality, justice, fairness for everybody, not just the elites on the top of the pyramid. And then Capricorn is a sign of government and authority. So to me, Saturn retrograding from Aquarius back to Capricorn, this is going to bring the will and the indignation of the people, and it's going to bring it into Capricorn to the elites, to the figures of so-called authority, and it's going to keep furthering this house cleaning within government. Whenever a planet's in retrograde, it's all about correcting things and fixing things. So Saturn, planet of duty, of responsibility, but of authority, of hierarchy, of enforcing the law, it's in its home sign in Capricorn, its yang sign. It's going there. It's going to retrograde back there. So to have Saturn go from Aquarius to Capricorn in a retrograde, this is going to start addressing the people's grievances. Last time we had a Saturn retrograde, the whole thing took place in Capricorn. So this is basically like the deep states, the governments, the corporate leaders, they're all doing audits and policings of themselves. It's like the fox guarding the chicken coop. they're just pretending they're getting something done and they're helping us. So this retrograde's a big deal. So I'm going to leave it at that. Thanks very much for tuning in. I very much appreciate it. If you haven't checked out my website already, that is thecosmicalchemist.com. You can book readings with me, rune readings, Vedic astrology readings, I Ching readings, and I have a couple videos, actually 3 videos for sale for download. Some Qigong instructional videos. So thanks very much, and I'll talk to you soon. Have a good one.